It's July 25th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR. Today, in this show, we talk about stretch, we talk about earnings, we talk about the most hated rally of all time. Yes, Bitcoin hit $114,000 overnight. Where are we going to end up today? Nobody knows, but what I do know is that we're moving on to post number one from the Bitcoin Therapist, which is just in strategy upsized stretch IPO 400%. And raises $2.5 billion to buy more Bitcoin. This is approximately 21,000 Bitcoin. I repeat, strategy is going to be buying over the next week 21,000 Bitcoin. Absolutely amazing. Of course, nothing in this video is financial advice. Please do your own research, but this makes me very excited for the long-term future of strategy. I repeat, the long-term future of strategy. What strategy does in the short and the medium term, only time will tell, but I'm a buyer every single day personally. Please hit that like button if you like the stretch IPO going up 400% from 500 million to 2.5 billion to buy more Bitcoin. Let's go. We also have a great post from Documenting Saylor. When your company understands Bitcoin, the market listens. And this is just a little graph of MSTR from 98 to 2025. I've got to scroll all the way down here to look at what happened from 1998 all the way until the Bitcoin strategy was adopted about right here in 2020. Excited at first, then of course the bear market, and then kaboom goes the dynamite. And this is, of course, on its way to becoming what I believe is a $10 trillion company. The Bitcoin Therapist says everyone needs to read this. It took strategy 4 years to accumulate 1% of all the Bitcoin to exist. In just the last year, they have added an additional 2% for a total of 3%. You should think twice about selling your Bitcoin. This decade is going to be absolutely insane. They went from 21,000 Bitcoin to 226,000 Bitcoin to 607,000 Bitcoin. Soon to be adding at least another 20,000 plus Bitcoin in the next week or two. Insane times that we live in. I am pumped to be on board. Jeff says, remember, the most hated rally of all time. It has just begun. Just stay focused. And for me, the word focused is an acronym. Follow one course until success. Focus. Let's go. Jeff Walton says, in 7 days, MSTR trailing 12-month earnings per share will go from negative $22 per share to positive $15 per share. Note Q3 and Q4 2024 were under the prior accounting rules, not marking Bitcoin at fair value. So we are about to see a massive flip. And how will the market react? Only time will tell. Ryan, aka Rye Quant, says MSTR, Saylor should let the MNAV run. Grossly overestimates strategy's ability to impact the stock by turning on or off the ATM. The stock trades billions of dollars every day, of which about 90% is not the ATM. I choose to focus on the 98%. So again, there's people like Ryan, who's been following the stock for a long time, and he is a very respected voice in the MSTR space. This is just his response to people saying, let the MNAV run, Saylor, like stop hitting the ATM. They're just not understanding that 98% is not the ATM. It's not. Let's move on over to Adam Livingston, who says, anyone whining about dilution has a time preference of less than a year. Sad. Saylor doubled the Bitcoin hoard. Y'all will love it when Bitcoin hits 200K. Take a walk, touch some grass, and zoom out. And I love this zoom out because this is a 1 year zoom out. And I have been on board for this 1 year. I have just, been in pain during this drawdown here. This was painful. And I was in the absolute joy of this run up, the pain of this drawdown, the joy of this run up, the pain of this chop, getting excited about this run up. And then of course, now we're, headed back down. Who knows what the future is going to hold, but if you zoom out, it's up 148% and life is good. In this last post by Jeff Walton, he wants us to know that 1 of 100 get Bitcoin. 1 of 100 that get Bitcoin get MSTR. And 4 of 100 that get MSTR get Strife early. And there's 1 of 100. And this is one of 100 Bitcoiners. And this is just 4 of 100 Bitcoiners. It's insane. FCKD, of course, which is Strife, Strike, Stretch, Stride in the house. Let's go. And I have some great video clips coming up with Michael Saylor, so sit back and enjoy.
Node, no one's going to be able to change it. It is truly a digital commodity, which makes it a basis of sovereignty and freedom and property rights for the human race for the next 1,000 years, if not 10,000 years. We might actually trace the singularity to January 1st, 2009, when humanity finally had property rights that could not be seized. And before 2009, we were living with imperfect property rights and defective money. And after 2009, we had property rights and we had energy flowing into the digital realm. And that might change humanity for thousands and thousands of years. So I'm confident and optimistic that it's a pretty important thing. And I don't think I met lots of people. I I I have confidence that other objective people, neutral observers, they will come to the same conclusion. The disinterested parties will come to the same conclusion. And as they come to that conclusion, the market will segment and things will sort themselves out in a rational fashion for the good of humanity.
When it comes to my assets, diversification is key. I don't want to be over leveraged in any one thing. I mean, yes, I own MSTR and it makes up a large part of my portfolio, but I also own Bitcoin and always will. And now, thanks to my new sponsor, BitIRA, you can own Bitcoin in a tax sheltered retirement account. BitIRA has been around for almost 10 years. As one of the trailblazers in alternative IRAs for crypto, they have built the world's most secure digital IRA. Here's why you'll love them: end to end insurance, highly secure storage, multi encryption, and registered with the US government. And it's fully IRS compliant. If you have a 401k from an old employer or an IRA gathering dust and you'd rather have that retirement account converted to an IRA in Bitcoin, BitIRA will help you convert it free of taxes or penalties. Best of all, you can trade crypto within your retirement account without taxes incurred on any buys or sells. Just go to bitira.com/JLD and request a free info guide. Once you do that and open your IRA, you'll get a free ledger. Again, that's bitira.com/JLD to open a tax sheltered IRA in Bitcoin.
A hot topic recently has been the idea of MicroStrategy or strategy eventually qualifying or being included in the S&P 500. Do you think that, that might happen? Do you think that it's important if that happens? Is it overhyped? How are you thinking about that?
Yes, it might happen. The decision's above my pay grade. It'll be made by human beings, by a committee, and they may or may not make it whenever they may or may not decide. On the margin, I think the direction of travel is we will be incorporated into more and more indexes, and I think eventually we will be incorporated in the S&P 500. I don't know when, right? To the extent that the S&P 500 stays relevant, right? The risk for them is if they don't incorporate the innovative tech companies, then they become irrelevant and they underperform versus QQQ or some actively managed fund. So there's an incentive, but on the other hand, organizations have a degree of risk aversion and inertia to them. So some move faster than others. I think that maybe the salient point, which is interesting, is yesterday it came out that Vanguard is our biggest shareholder. 20 million shares of MSTR. And of course, Vanguard, it illustrates a lot of points. First of all, the CEO and the management team of Vanguard doesn't embrace crypto and doesn't embrace Bitcoin at all. But it doesn't matter what they think, because the funds they run are passively investing in this, whether they like it or not. And the whole premise of John Bogle and the Vanguard 500 was human decision making is inadequate compared to the market, and will generally be, the market is smarter than any individual's opinion anyway. So passive investing outperforms active investing most of the time. And Vanguard has lots of large passive funds. And once you understand that, you realize that the core premise of a Bitcoin treasury company is we're driving Bitcoin adoption by capturing equity investors who can never by mandate buy a commodity. I mean, in our last presentation, we showed $35 trillion of discretionary capital for equity investors versus $700 billion of discretionary capital to invest in commodities, right? So that's 50x as much. So 50x as much capital can flow that way. Then Bitcoin treasury companies are creating an on-ramp for credit investors, right? Because there's $65 trillion of that we showed. So there's even more credit, not quite 100x as much, but 95 times as much capital to buy credit instruments as opposed to commodities. And then this Vanguard example, which is also the S&P example, is there's a set of investors that just park their capital in index funds. They don't make a decision. It's all passive capital. Passive capital locked up in the S&P or the NASDAQ 100 or the MSCI index or total stock market indexes, they can never buy the commodity. They can never buy Bitcoin. They can never buy silver, gold, or palladium. Doesn't matter how good it is. You could record 18 million hours of Bitcoin podcast. You could give away the Bitcoin for free. They're still never going to buy it.
What's the second best? There is no second best.